Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, welcome to Between the Corners. Hosting out of the blue corner, weighing in at 170 pounds, from Caguas, Puerto Rico, now out of Dallas, Texas, Josue Mr. Skinny Delgado. And co-hosting out of the red corner, weighing in at 207 pounds, from Brooklyn, New York, now out of Dallas, Texas, Robert R.D. Delgado.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Between the Corner. I'm your host, Josue.
And I'm your co-host, Robert.
And we have another great one for you today. We had some pretty good fights this weekend, both Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely. I think the Friday night boxing actually helped me. I had a really busy Saturday, so it was good to get some good fights in on Friday. And I like the change sometimes. I know a lot of people will talk about like, Saturday night is prime time, and if you're not fighting on a Saturday night, you're not really, some people will equate that to not being at a certain level, but I personally love Friday night fights.
Yeah, same here. I don't mind at all. I like the change. I like the difference. And then, of course, it gives me something to do on Saturday as well. Like, it splits it up, and we don't have to, like, try to keep track of both fights, UFC, boxing, or if there's several boxing events. It makes it easier. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I think we can just go ahead and jump right in on, talking about Friday night. We had Bruce Shushu Carrington versus Suleiman Sagawa. I hope I pronounced that right. Listen, I know last time I said Bruce was going to show he was on a different level. Sagawa, he's not at Bruce Shushu's level. However, I was wrong. I think Sagawa actually showed that he was not only at his level, and just seeing the fight over and over, I think you can make the case that it was a draw or that even Sagawa won that fight. I think it was a good lesson for Shushu, but I think he really needs to go back to the drawing board and go back to what was actually working for him, right? I think he kind of tried to force the knockout a little bit too much. I think he started to get away from his game plan, and he fought Sagawa's fight for a big part of the fight.
Yeah, and Shushu started off looking good. Like in the first round, he landed some good ones. He landed one. I forgot what it was. I'm pretty sure it was the left hand. Could be wrong. But that seemed to hurt Sagawa. But then in the second round, Sagawa actually landed one that seemed to have hurt Bruce. And then throughout the fight, they both were landing some punches that stopped the other ones. Nobody went down that fight. But yeah, as you said, we both thought Shushu was going to come and annihilate him. You had said the fifth round. I had actually said the fourth round. And it went all the way to decision, and Shushu won the decision. I did have Shushu winning, but there was rounds where I scored for Shushu that it could have eased anybody. I would understand if anybody scored it for Sagawa. So yeah, like you said, a very, very close fight. Shushu does have to go back to the drawing board and, tweak a couple of things that we saw. He got away, like we said, from his boxing stuff that was working and was looking for the KO punch.
Yeah, I think, if anything, not to take away from Sagawa, if anything, I think he showed that, he's at that level, and I would love to see him fight again. Like, I think he brings the action to the fights. Again, I had said there were levels to this, but I think Sagawa showed that, he can turn it up when he wants to. And, I personally think Shushu owes him a rematch. That's just my opinion. I think they should run it back. I think Shushu could do things differently, but, in my opinion, it was a draw. Like, I would say it was a draw.
And I don't think that they will rematch, though. Even though it would be a good thing to do, I honestly don't feel like it's going to be a rematch. But yeah, so no, that was a pretty good fight. Kind of, well, I say pretty good because it was a good fight. Like, they were hitting each other.
It was a really good fight.
Yeah,
I mean, it was action packed. It didn't
It
get,
just didn't go my way. Is why I said pretty good. It didn't go as I
but it
wanted
was still
to.
a good fight.
Yeah.
I was impressed by Sagawa. I have no
Yeah.
shame in admitting, I had kind of again said that he wasn't going to be ready for Shushu, but
Mhm.
I think he showed me and he showed a lot of people why he earned that fight against Shushu.
Yep. He
And
did.
kind of on the same topic of Shushu, I would say, I heard a lot of talks about him versus Naoya Inoue. I would like to dismiss that right now. I think Inoue would run
He's not
right
ready.
through Shushu if that performance showed us anything, right? I know, people will say, well, styles make fights. Sure.
We say that a lot here.
But right. And I will say though, Inoue is able to adapt to just about any style. And I think he's just at a different level. Shushu's not ready for that. Like I
Not
think
yet.
he
Yeah.
needs to have a couple of more dominant. I mean, he needs to show dominance in his performance. If he's
Mhm.
just barely getting away with him, and again, I know styles make fights, but Inoue would destroy him in my opinion, just
Yeah.
based on that performance. And I kind of look back at some of the other fights that he's had. I thought this fight he was going to show us why he would be a good matchup for Inoue. This fight showed me the exact opposite.
The opposite. Yeah.
Yep. So none of his previous ones had, none of his previous performances had showed me that it would be a good matchup versus Inoue. But I thought this one was going to be kind of like his come out party. Like, hey, this is why
Yeah.
I'm here. That didn't happen. I think once again to kind of wrap it up, I think he needs to go back to the drawing board and get a couple more fights under him before he steps up
in level.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and then speaking of what he has to do, dominant performances. The next fight, Xander Zayas versus Damian Sosa. Another great. Well, I want to say this one was a great fight because it kind of went the way I wanted it to go. I had said Zayas was going to be the first one to ever stop Sosa. I said it was going to be on the 7th round. I was wrong. You were actually right in this one. You said Zayas was going to win by decision. And you said that he needed to show us a great performance to show us that he's ready for the next level. And he did that.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm wearing this shirt today. Just in honor of Xander Zayas. I think he showed us that he's stepping it up, like his level. And I get it, right? People are going to point at the fact that who's Damian Sosa? If you look at his record, I mean, he hasn't fought, I would say, the best out there,
Yeah.
but he's fought some great competition. Not only that, he's never been dominated like this. Zayas won every round against Sosa.
It was a shutout.
And this is not to take away from Sosa had his moments. He had a few moments, especially towards the latter part of the fight. I would say Zayas got a little careless, and Sosa has some heavy hands. I'll say that. While Zayas never looked to really be in trouble, there were some parts where I was like, oh my goodness, like those were bombs that landed him, which showed me Zayas has a good chin, but he really didn't need to take some of those punches.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I don't want to take away from Zayas. I had said he needed a great performance. Same like Shushu, same thing. He needed to show us he's ready for the next level. I think he did that. I think he showed he's ready for the next level. I know there's talks about him versus.
Before you get to what he wants to do, what are some of the things that you saw Zayas do good in that fight that made him so dominant?
I think his body work. I was very impressed, especially with young fighters. Some of them, and I hear this a lot. So I think I'll say one thing. I think young fighters nowadays are starting to see that it pays to go to the body. I know a lot of the times, we hear commentators talk about the fact that, hey, he's a young fighter and it's good to see a young fighter going to the body. I see that more now. I think they're starting to see the value in that, right? You break them down by going to the body early. He didn't necessarily break Sosa all the way down. I mean, Sosa has a great chin. I don't think we'll ever see him get stopped.
He took a lot of hits from Zayas upstairs as well.
Right. I thought he was gonna go down, but he showed a great chin. He showed why I gave my prediction that it was gonna go the full 12. But if I had to point at I would say two things: his body work and really even his offense. I like the way he, I know he has some great defense, but his offense to me was phenomenal. He knew what combinations to throw.
Yeah.
I would say if I would have him work on a little one more thing, it would be maybe throwing one or two more punches in his combinations. I think he did that certain times, but I think he can go the extra mile. And I think, knowing that Sosa was a dangerous fighter, I think that's why he kind of shied away from it a little bit. But I think he could add one or two more punches to his combinations. I don't know that he would have gotten the stoppage, but he would have gotten that much closer. Yeah. There were certain times where Sosa looked like he only expected a certain number of punches and was kind of not. I wouldn't say he had Zayas figured out, but he knew exactly how many punches Zayas was going to throw. Yeah. So if I think, they always say that it's the punch that you don't see coming. That's kind of what I would have liked to see from Zayas. But even with that said, I mean, phenomenal performance by him. Showed great defense. Great body punches.
Loved his head movement. Yep. Loved his head movement, how he would punch and then get out of the way, show different angles. And yeah, body work. Like it was crazy. I think that's what slowed Sosa down, because Sosa before this fight was known as a volume puncher. He didn't show that in this fight, which was another great thing by Zayas. He basically stopped him. But yeah, warrior in Sosa. So he stood in there. He took the punishment, and then Zayas showed us that he's ready for the next level. Which, let's go ahead and talk about what do you think that next level is. I know we were talking about this off camera. What are a few names that you would say for him? Would be good for him?
I know people would probably say he's not ready for them, but Virgil Ortiz and Tim Tszyu, I think he's ready for them. And I think they will bring the best out of him. Yep. I know what people will say, both Virgil and Tim, they are beasts. They're monsters. And I will tell you right now, because obviously I'm a huge Zayas fan, I will be at the edge of my seat. I will be extremely nervous. Mm-hmm. But I think this fight showed us that I think he's ready for them. I honestly think he's ready to take on Ortiz, take on Tszyu. And, Ortiz, and against both of them, to be honest, even with all that said, I would say it's a 50-50 fight. Yeah. I don't think I can say for certain, 100%, he'd win. Obviously, that's who I would be going for. But it really would come down to who fights whose fight. And, Ortiz, I know people will point out the fact, well, his last fight went the distance. He didn't get hit. He's still undefeated, but he didn't get the knockout like he had gotten in all his previous fights. But he's still a very dangerous puncher.
Oh, yeah. 100% a dangerous puncher. So, yeah, with Ortiz, that one, it'll be an exciting fight. We're fans of Ortiz since he is from Grand Prairie, Texas, which we grew up in a city right next to it, Arlington, Texas. So we're huge fans of Virgil Ortiz. So we've actually gone to one of his fights as well.
I've gone to several of his fights.
Or you've gone to several. I've just been to one. But yeah, no. So that would be a great fight. Obviously, we'd be rooting more for Zayas, because we're a notch over Ortiz fan-wise for Zayas. So, but yeah, I feel like it'll be boxing versus power at that point. And it'll be a scary fight.
It'll be a boxer puncher versus a boxer. Yeah. Ortiz, he can box too. That's what he shows. And I think he's not going to be as fast. I'll say that. He's not as fast as Zayas. Doesn't have the same movements, but his equalizer is exactly.
He'll keep coming at you.
Mm-hmm. He's been hurt, and he's shown that he has a great chin himself. So, I'm kind of thinking ahead, but I'm trying to think, like, what would that fight look like? I would say my hope it would be that it would go to the decision, because I don't see Zayas knocking him out, man. That would be a statement if he was able to knock out Ortiz. But Ortiz has shown he has a great chin.
Yeah.
Really, against either Tszyu or Ortiz, I don't see him knocking either one of them out. So he would have to probably have a dominant, unanimous decision.
Yeah. Well,
or a decision performance, I should say. But
those two would be great fights. So hopefully the young kid can, where they'll, management and all that can make it happen, make him move up to the next level. And another little thing that I wanted to bring up as well, this one of the reasons why I love Xander Zayas, besides what he does in the ring, outside of the ring, he's such a humble guy. He actually shared a picture, him and Damian Sosa, after the fight eating pizza together. Like,
I mean, they showed great sportsmanship in the ring.
In the ring as well.
Immediately after that, he gave him the thanks. I know a lot of people make a big deal of the Puerto Rico versus Mexico rivalry, and it's good for boxing, in my opinion. I think it's great. on both sides, I think you some people get kind of carried away, like, whether it's a Puerto Rican, Mexican, I think I respect both sides. I think they bring some of the
Yes.
best fights out there.
100%.
In recent times, I have to admit, Mexico has the upper hand on us. Like,
Mhm.
Zayas, I think that's why we're holding on to him. He's got, there's a few other ones out there, but Zayas is kind of our probably the biggest prospect out of Puerto Rico right
Yep.
now. But all respect to Mexican fighters. Oh my goodness, they have they're stacked. I mean, right now they have probably how many champions do they have currently? I can't think of that right now, but
In
you know,
boxing, there's so many belts. You can't really come on.
no,
I mean,
I
there's a
know.
lot, I'm sure, but
Yeah,
you're not gonna be
I
able
would
to
say
think of them all.
legitimately, like they still have a lot of top fighters.
Yeah, no, yeah,
I'll leave it
yeah,
at that.
of
Then
course.
forget about championships. They have a lot of top level fighters out there.
Yeah.
I mean, from
No,
the top
yeah,
down.
yeah. No, I was just saying, like, to try to think of all the Mexican champs would be too hard because there's a lot of them out there. Like, there's a whole bunch of belts out there, and a lot of them are held by Mexicans. But yeah, a lot of top legitimate fighters right now are Mexicans. They do have the upper hand on the Puerto Rican thing, but I think it's such a great healthy rivalry. Should be for the most part. Some people get carried away, but you can weed those people out. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about the next fight. Which, speaking of getting carried away, what a great segue. So we got Sandy Ryan versus Michaela Mayer, and it started off interesting before the fight. Sandy Ryan walking out of her hotel room gets hit by red paint, like kind of like in the Carrie movie, except in the Carrie movie it was pig's blood. Anyways,
Yeah.
she got hit by red paint, and it was all over her. Her coach wanted her to not fight, but Sandy was adamant that she was ready to go. She was fired up, and she wanted to fight regardless. She blamed Michaela Mayer's team or somebody in Michaela Mayer's, not anybody in specific, but said that it had to be one of them. Who else would have known about her in New York? She's from the UK. Nobody really knows about her. And then the fight happened. And yeah, that fight was exciting.
It was a lot more exciting than I expected.
Yeah.
And I think it showed that both of them are actually still competing at a high level.
Mhm.
I had said that Mayer's best days were behind her. I think she showed a great chin. She showed great offense.
Mhm.
Defense, I think for both of them needs some work,
Yeah.
but it made for a great fight because of that. The defense wasn't exactly there for either one of them. They showed some glimpses of good defense, I would say, but other than that, it was a lot of back and forth action. That's another fight that I think that to be completely honest, Mayer did great. I think there were some very, very close rounds, so I can see it both ways. I've done a lot of reading online. A lot of people feel that Ryan won that fight. My opinion, Mayer edged it out, but I can see the argument as to why Ryan won that fight. And there's probably a lot that's gonna come out in the next few days, given the incident that happened.
Yeah.
There's no way I can say for sure. I don't know if they have a way to know for sure if it was somebody from Mayer's team. But regardless, whether or not it shook her up for that fight, it's possible. She seemed to indicate that maybe she did lose that fight. She didn't really feel like she didn't say that she felt she won that fight. She kind of just blamed the incident as to why she didn't perform the way she did.
Yeah.
Or the way she could have. But I just think, great fight back and forth. And I know that people will once again say that Ryan was the champion. So I think
that she should. I think that rule is dumb, or not rule, but the unspoken rule is dumb. That you have to beat the champion to get the belt. You have to. No, if you win, you win. I don't think it has to be significant. Like
I kind of understand the argument when
yeah.
it's a close fight. When it's a close fight, I get it. It should be more, I would say, respect towards the champion. If there is a
if anything, for me, you should score the champion even harder. You're the champion. Show us that you're at a higher level. If it's close, but no, I don't. I personally feel like they're just two fighters. You score each round how you see it as a judge, And simple as that. There shouldn't be any edge either way.
Fair enough.
Because it's a fight. You want to keep your belt, then show us that, and again, like we were saying, it was a close fight. I had Mayer edge it as well. There were some rounds that I gave to Mayer that could have gone to Ryan, but for the most part, I feel like Mayer was more elusive, like especially in the beginning of the fight. She was moving towards or away from Ryan's power punch, and that's when she was fighting success. She was actually outboxing her, outlanding her as well. Ryan started cutting off the ring later on in the fight and found success in punching Mayer, but Mayer was still getting hers in and was still, I feel like she was still outboxing her a little bit. The power punches, though, for the most part, you can tell Ryan's power punches had more effect on Mayer.
Oh, absolutely.
And also to the incident at the end of the fight, Ryan did say that it affected her performance. Like she said that it affected her. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like this is why you listen to your coach. This is why the coach didn't want her to fight, because he was probably like, all right, this may affect her, but you were adamant. You're a grown woman. You were ready to fight. Like in the interview before the fight, you were ready to fight. You were ready to get at it. You were fired up, and then you lose the fight, and then you say that did factor in. That's what I didn't care for. And, if she wouldn't have been so fired up and at the beginning was like, when they interviewed her and said something to like, well, I'm a fighter, I'm not going to let down the fans and stuff like that. If she says something like that, then yes, at the end of the fight, saying that it affected her, I would understand it. I'd be like, well, I get it. But since she was like, no, it's not affecting me, I'm ready to fight and all that. That's why I'm like, I don't care for the excuse.
I get what you're saying. I think, it almost seemed like she had that in her back pocket just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with that. I wanted to say, she showed the warrior mentality by continuing to fight, but using it as an excuse, it kind of plays down her own performance because, it was a very close fight. Like I said, you can make the argument in either side that she won.
Yeah.
You could have it a draw, but saying that at the fight, it did take away from her own performance.
Yeah, no, because she did. Yeah, like you said, she did good. She did really good. It could have gone her way.
All right, so great fights for boxing. I think we can transition over to the UFC Saturday. Imavov versus Brendan Allen. I know you had predicted that Imavov was gonna take it. You were right. I think the first round may have had you second guessing a little bit.
Yeah,
Brendan did control it, but Imavov was able to adjust and get the next two rounds.
Yeah, no, he did. Imavov, he showed why he's at he's at that high level. That's why he's ranked number 4 in his division. And yeah, he adjusted his defense. His takedown defense was great after that first round, of course. And then his striking, he won the fight, the last 2 rounds for sure, like a no doubt. And then Allen, great young fighter, but definitely has to go back and work on a few things. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a good fight. I wouldn't say great, but it was a good fight. Imavov did win the fight.
What impressed you the most about Imavov?
His takedown defense, the way he was able to adjust to it, and even when he did get caught a little bit by the takedown, his sprawling, he sprawled out of it and was able to even on the ground actually take control of Allen. So that right there, that impressed me. How he was able to adjust within the fight while it was going on. And I feel like that showed that he needs to move to the next level. Even a title fight would be.
I mean, yeah, he's won 6 of his last 7 fights.
Mm-hmm.
The only loss coming to the former champion, Strickland.
Yep. John Strickland, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I feel like he's ready for Duplessis. If I'm not sure exactly, I forgot what they're planning for Duplessis. And I forgot what they're planning for him. But anyways, regardless, that would be. I feel like he has earned that fight. Imavov has, and great win for him as well, since they were fighting. It was fight night in Paris. It was in Paris, and he is a Frenchman. So that was great. Now, wasn't such a good night for the main event Frenchman. Unfortunately, we had not sorry, it was not Nazareth. That's Imavov. We actually had Renato Moicano, the Brazilian, versus the Frenchman Benoit Saint-Denis. And yeah, no, this was an exciting fight while it lasted.
Absolutely. From the first round,
Yeah.
Moicano was able to take down Saint-Denis. He absolutely battered him.
And the fact that there was a second round though was kind of surprising to me, just because of Saint-Denis' eyes. Both of them were beat up. The right eye more than the left one, but they were both beat up and bloodied.
You know, I'll give it to Saint-Denis. He wanted to continue.
He did.
He wanted to continue, and you know, I don't know if that's what he was saying. I obviously wasn't the one hearing him there in the ring, but it almost seemed like he was saying, "Yeah, I might not be able to see from this side, but I can see from the other side."
Yeah, he was.
You know,
I feel like he was. I don't speak French.
I think it was the right decision. Obviously, you know, from a fighter's perspective, they have a lot of heart. Sometimes you have to save them from themselves.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those cases where he felt like, you know, and I get it. He probably could see from that eye, but one thing that we always have to remember, you know, professional fighters, you know, when your opponent knows that you're hurt from that eye, I mean, they're just going to target that. So I think it was the right decision. It didn't look like Saint-Denis did anything really in the second round to change it.
No, and the second round actually, Moicano slowed down. He didn't. It seemed like he slowed down. Yeah, he was still hitting him a few times and landed some good ones, which caused more, bruising and bleeding. But yeah, no, I feel like you said, they had to save him from himself, because when they were checking his eyes, they forgot to cover this one, and he was able to tell them how many numbers. And then once they covered his eye,
that was kind of funny. I was like, hey, are they not able to see that? Like, it's kind of obvious he's using the other eye.
He couldn't see. I can't see, but yeah, it looked like he was saying, I could see from the other eye. Which, I mean, didn't Bisping or whatever? Didn't he only have one eye? How come they didn't let him fight? I think it was the blood as well, getting to the other eye, and what I mean, like fighting with one eye, and then if the blood gets to the other eye, plus the other eye was already bruised up as well.
And his eyes were swollen. Like, it was only a matter of time before the left eye was the same way, and it was the right call.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, was not Saint-Denis' best night.
No, not at all.
But I stand by what I said. I think, you're right. McConnell didn't really do too much in the second round, but neither did Saint-Denis. He didn't do enough to turn it around, I would say.
No, he was. I don't think he could at the moment. I don't think he could. But I mean, and Moicano, being a 10-year veteran of the UFC, showed that he still has some fight in him for sure. At the end of the round, not the end of the round, sorry. At the end of the fight, he actually called out Paddy Pimblett, Paddy the Baddy, which is an up-and-coming young fighter with a lot of hype. I think that would be a great fight for Paddy to move up in level, and also for Moicano to see if he can still hang with more of the young guns, because Benoit was somebody that was up and coming.
Yep.
So Paddy versus him would be great. He also called out Dan Hooker. That would be a good fight, but I feel like the Paddy one, that one attracts me more, just because Paddy is a young up and coming fighter, and it'll show us what he has against a veteran that's still fighting, because Paddy did beat Ferguson, but let's be honest, that's not El Kukui from the days before. That was something else. But yeah, that'd be a great fight. Now, what's to come?
Well, we could start with a little bit of boxing. We have one major fight that I want to see. It's going to be another Friday night fight in Johnny Beck. I always mispronounce. I think it's Johnny Beck. He's fighting. It's going to be a battle of undefeated fighters. He's fighting Andrei Mikhailovich, I want to say. They're both undefeated. Kazakhstan versus New Zealand. It's going to be a great fight. That's coming on Friday. I'm absolutely looking forward to that fight. I think Johnny Beck is somebody that I don't necessarily know if they're avoiding him, but nobody's actually lining up to fight him either. So
Scared.
I think it's going to be a good fight. You know, he's shown some progress in every single fight. He's got a great offense. I think it's going to make for an exciting fight. I don't know too much about his opponent, but you know they're both undefeated. That's got to stand for something. I don't know what this other guy's background is as far as all his opponents that he's fought, but it'll be an exciting fight. You know, anytime that Johnny Beck fights, I think it's always an exciting fight. So, from a boxing perspective, that's the main one that I'm looking for.
Well, there you go. On Friday night, someone's O has got to go. All right. And then for UFC, of course, we've all heard, we got UFC 307. This one has some good fights in it. In the main card, there is 4 fights that I want to talk about. First one is going to be Ketlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. The main reason why I want to watch that fight is because Kayla Harrison is in it. This is only her second fight in the UFC. Her first fight was against Holly Holmes, which, let's be honest, just like I mentioned about Oikukui from back in the day, Holly Holmes is not the same Holly Holmes as she used to be.
Yep. This will kind of show us, maybe the level that she's in. Really show us if there is some truth to the hype behind her.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think wins that?
I don't know too much about Kayla Harrison, to be honest, or Vieira. I want to know more about Kayla and how she would do at this level because her record was 16-1 in PFL. So I want to know how that transitions into the UFC because UFC is kind of like a level up. So that's why this fight really catches my attention. I want to see what Kayla has to offer. If I had to predict though, I would say Kayla wins it in the second round again, just like she won with Holly Holmes. First round, she'll kind of feel her out and get to know her, and then Kayla wins in the second round. Stoppage. Not sure if it'll be submission or KO, but it'll be a stoppage.
All right. Well, there you have it. Cool. And then the second fight that you're interested in, I think, is Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista.
Yep. Yeah, Jose Aldo, his second fight coming back from retirement. He did retire in 2022 because I'm sorry, not because, but after his loss to Marab, which is now the champion. So, I mean, he didn't lose to just anybody. And at his age and how long he's been doing this for, like he's still in it with great competition. He did win his last fight against I forgot who it was, but it was another young gun. Now he's fighting another up and comer, which is Mario Bautista. He is currently on a 6-fight winning streak.
Yep.
So this is not no easy task for the old man. It's not.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one for him for sure. And Jose Aldo has always been a great fighter in my book, but he's going to have his hands full with Mario Bautista.
Yeah,
and this is vice versa. I think this is going to show what Mario Bautista is made out of too.
Mm-hmm. Great test for him. If he's able to get past him, then yes, another fighter that's, like we always say, ready to move up another level. Obviously not a title shot yet, but he's ready to move up yet another level. So that is a great fight. I would say though, for me, my brain is having trouble on choosing between who I want to win and who I think will win. Like they're struggling because they both have a chance of winning. It really all depends on how they come out that night.
Who do you want to win?
I'm always rooting for the old man, Jose Aldo. I would want him to win.
Same. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's going to win.
Yeah.
My prediction is that Mario wins this in the second round.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm going to say Jose Aldo wins it. And you know what? In the first round, he's going to show us that he's not ready to go yet. Again, since he already retired once. So I feel like in the first round, he's going to shock everybody, and then he's going to be moving up and probably even facing the champion in a rematch here soon.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I loved his fights. So I think it would be good.
No.
If he's able to pull off that win, it'll be Would that be considered an upset?
I think it would be. Yeah, I definitely think it would because I feel like most people think Bautista's gonna take this one.
All right, let's move on to the next fight now.
Mhm.
We have Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Peña.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be an interesting fight. Peña hasn't fought since she lost her belt in the rematch against Nunez. And it is against Nunez, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take that away from it. But it's been 2 years though. She hasn't fought. And then to come back against Pennington, it's not gonna be an easy task.
It's not. Pennington's a veteran of the UFC. Now holding the belt, this is going to be her first title defense. It really all depends on what Pena shows up. Which Pena shows up? Is she gonna pick up where she left off and fighting the opponents like Nunes and all that, actually winning the belt from her, or will ring rust be a thing? Because I mean, come on, that's a long time.
Ring rust, and you have the psychological aspect of it, right? Even I get it, it's Nunez, but a loss is a loss, and she was virtually taken apart by Nunez, so it's gonna be very tough for her to win it. I'm still pulling for her to win that.
Same.
What do you think wins it though? Realistically,
I think Pennington takes it. She is on a 6-fight winning streak. She hasn't lost since 2020, if I'm not wrong. It's 4 years that she hasn't lost. So realistically, she wins. But because Pena took that much time off, that's the only reason.
I'm gonna take a page out of your book. Go against the grain here.
There you go.
Realistically, or not. Unrealistically, I still have Pena winning.
Okay.
I think she's gonna pull an upset.
There you go. There you have it.
She's gonna pull off the upset.
And I think Pennington will win by stoppage in the 3rd round.
Okay.
I'll give her that.
Very good.
All right. And then let's go ahead and move on to the main event of the evening. We got Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. Alex Pereira, I mean, he came into the UFC, so much hype behind him, and then with the rivalry with Izzy, and man, he has turned into a superstar in such a quick amount of time, or such a small amount of time.
Quick amount of time.
Yeah, quick amount of time. Yeah. No, but yeah, the fact that he's done it in such a small amount of time, like he's beaten great fighters from the UFC.
Yeah.
In middleweight, y'all should be thanking Izzy for taking him out of that division. Like the fact that after he lost to Izzy, he moved up, because that weight, I don't even know how he was making that weight. But after that, he moved up, and now he's the light heavyweights problem, and he's a champion already there. So middleweight, thank Izzy, and and light heavyweights, sorry, they have been going through it. He's already gone through several top fighters in that division. Of course, he won the belt from there, and now he's going against an all right fighter.
How much threat does Roundtree really pose to Pereira?
He just poses a one-punch knockout power. That's it. So his threat, I feel like his threat isn't that much at all. But that's a scary thing, because he's coming in there with nothing to lose and everything to gain, and he has that power. So I feel like if you're smart and if you're Roundtree, this is your time to really make your. I mean, he's already known for people who watch UFC, but this is to become like the upset of the year is what it would be, and people that are not even too big into UFC will know your name because you beat a superstar. All around the world, this will be heard of if Alex Pereira loses. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think Pereira is going to take this. He's shown that, like I've said before, there's levels to this. I think, can Roundtree pull off the upset? Absolutely. Like you said, he's got the one-punch knockout power.
He's got the power.
But Pereira has been in there with some of the best. So I think Pereira takes that one.
Yeah, no, and then speaking of power as well, you got amazing power coming from Pereira. Like he's weirdly strong. Like his punches are so strong, his kicks are so strong. Like there's a lot of videos on YouTube about it, but then during the fight, you see it. The videos on YouTube are with like random normal people, but the fact that he's able to do that to actual fighters as well in the ring, he's at a whole different level. So we'll see a great fight. And another thing, like he's a busy fighter. This is his 3rd fight this year. He doesn't have to fight, but he loves to fight. He's the go-to guy to the UFC. When the UFC needs somebody to fight, like a big name, they call him, and he's there to pick up the phone. And he's answered. This is his third title defense this year.
This year alone.
This year.
Yeah, you don't see that in fighters, anymore. Whether it's UFC or even boxing, that's really, really rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very exciting weekend. Very exciting weekend.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we see something amazing, crazy amazing, in whatever the case may be, or just entertaining fights. I don't even care about exactly what we see. I just want to be entertained.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about.
All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. Don't forget, guys, like, comment, and subscribe down on the on this section right under here on YouTube, and also follow us on social media. We have our TikTok and Instagram being Between the Corners Pod. And then on X, it's just going to be Between Corners. Go ahead and follow us there. And like we always say in the comment section below, if you disagree, give us why. Let's have a conversation.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, that is all. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Kamsahamnida.
Kamsahamnida. We have to say merci because we had the UFC in Paris.
Merci.
Merci Boufflé, oui oui. I'm a Frenchman.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Grazie.
Grazie. Wait, grazie. What's grazie? Italian. All right, there we go. We're learning new things every day.
That's right.
All right, folks. Well, I hope you have a great night, morning, evening, whenever you're watching this. Pasa afuera.